we are encouraging that the different project proponents within with projects within the GSP to incorporate those projects into the OPTI database. And so Miguel has some experience with the database and volunteered to give a bit of a tutorial, so to speak, kind of walking through how you get access to the system, as well as how to incorporate projects into the database. And then the idea is to give all the agencies time over the next couple weeks to access the database and identify how it works. And then we'll have another session on the 22nd, which is our next meeting, where you can answer or ask any questions, and we can get answers and those kind of things. So you'll have a second bite at the apple, so to speak. So with that, I will try and stop my screen share. And Miguel, it's all you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First screen I have open is the instructions I will be going through. So if you guys want to take a few seconds and maybe screenshot this, Herb is also going to make it available on the website. I send them an email with this document, but if you want to make a screenshot of it, it's up available right now. And the next screen I'm going to bring over in a few seconds is going to be the website on the first step of the instructions. So on the first step of the instructions, if you're new to this program, you're going to sign up to the OPTI system. So here I created a fake account for demonstration. We got Joe Smith at yahoo.com, using with the password we confirm, and then you go ahead and register. And then once you've registered, then you go ahead and put in your username and password you just created. You go ahead and log in. Oh, and of course, let's renew it. And so once you're in for the first time, there's an additional step, which is the second step on your list, which is to update your contact information. So if you go to the add to projects and the add button. So first one was the projects icon, and then the second one is the add button. It's going to prompt you to go ahead and put in, it says before adding a new project, you must be a community member, which is asking you for your contact information. So let's see, okay. And so here's the information it's going to want. Your phone number, organization, your address, state, zip, and city. And once you fill this information, just go ahead and click down here to become a community member. And what will happen at that point, normally we get an email automated to our accounts, but that feature somehow has been turned off. So I added a third step on your instructions to go ahead and send an email to Jim Alves, which I provided his email, and to myself. I went ahead and got access as administration today. So you send us an email, say, hey, I've just created an OPTI account. I just put in my contact information. Can you give me access? And we'll go in there and we'll go ahead and provide you the access. At that point, once you have the access, I'm gonna come out of here just to show you what it looks like once you have access. And what I did, I logged in with my account that I do have access with, which is an account I set up years ago. And so when I go to add, it opens up this window. And in here, this is the beginning of adding a project. We have various tabs up here that were originally created up to a certain point for the IRWM projects, but then we added a couple more tabs to tailor it for our stormwater resource plan projects as well. So I'm just gonna open these up and show you. And there's information here you can read regarding some of the information that's gonna, regarding to the information on the IRWM. And there's a few tabs in here that talk about objectives from the IRWM. So I also provided a IRWM website link where you can go in there and look and read up on those objectives, goals and objectives from the IRWM. So when you're answering the questions, if you have the information, you can reference the IRWM to see what they mean by goals and objectives. But I'm gonna go ahead and open these up. And you'll see various selections of boxes. Here you can decide, is it an IRWM and also a stormwater resource plan? Now, an IRWM project is basically everything. Anything that has water is going to be IRWM for the most part. Stormwater resource plan project usually is one where you're trying to put bring in groundwater, bring a project where you're putting water into the ground, any runoff. Most of the projects in our GSPs would probably end up being a stormwater resource plan as well as an IRWM. So in the future, we'll probably have another checkbox where we'll click for the GSP if it's a GSP as well. And then I'm just going to show you a few of the boxes here. Let's see. So it looks like it wants me to start filling them out before it lets me go down to the bottom. Let's see. Okay, so I mean, I could go through all of these, but I'll just stop for a couple of seconds so you can see kind of the different things that they want to capture, informational, you know, what kind of benefits or objectives are we meeting with this type of project. Some of this information was used in the RDM for ranking the projects. Some of it might have been grant related, where the type of information you want to capture ahead of time so you can put into the grant application. And it's all of it is pretty good information to have at hand. So when a grant does become available, your information is already here. These are a little bit less quantity and more of just general check boxes as far as information, what kind of objectives you have. But further in the rest of the tabs, you might have some where they are asking you for volume or maybe a water quality estimate on how much of a certain contaminant you might be removing. And if you don't have the information, that's fine. And some of these, when I filled them out, I put as much information as I did have at the time. Sometimes you have a conceptual project. Sometimes you have something that has a preliminary design, something that's been designed. At different stages, we'll have projects in here. And so whatever information you do have, just go ahead and put it in. And as time goes on, as your project becomes more developed, you can then go back and put additional information. You can kind of see the theme on IRWM. It's, you know, flood, water quality. And some of these could be sewer projects, storm, a variety. Again, the IRWM was more of an umbrella that brought in almost any water related project into it. And here you can see is as far as where it's at, planning, feasibility. It's if we already have a design, and then if you got estimations of when you can do that. Costs, any costs you might have at this time. Also, we have elements of DAC if you are within a DAC or an SDAC. In this case, they call them EDAs. Little bit on greenhouses, any monitoring or data information that you might be collecting with your project. And here's a few more boxes, but these were tailored again for the stormwater resource plan at the time. And these were, again, tailored more for the stormwater resource plan. Some of this is the kind of stuff they wanted to see in the grant. So we were capturing ahead of time, knowing that these projects were actually going for the next round of implementation at the time. And again, it's all good information. It's always good to know how much water you can recharge and what different kind of benefits you might have out there. And if you can quantify it, it just makes your projects have more points, usually in a grant application. And I know it might seem like a lot, but again, it's only if how developed your project is and how much information. And it's, you know, if you can strive to fill out as many as you can, you just be that further ahead when the time comes. Let me see if I missed anything. No, that's it. As far as the items here, how to get into it. This is the website. How to get into it directly into the screen I showed you when I first opened it. Here's the IRWM, and there's also a method on how to get into the OPTI through there as well, if you follow this this pathway. This is the second step, what I say, fill out your contact information. And it's crucial that at this stage to send Jim and me or me an email, because we do not get an automated email like we used to. So go ahead and send us an email and say, hey, we just filled out the contact. We signed up for OPTI and we filled out the contact. Because filling out the contact is good for just to make sure you know, it is an agency or a legitimate entity that's trying to come into the system. And here you have Jim's email, and you got mine right here. If you have any questions, here's our phone numbers as well. And then when you go to do the projects, this is again a little just a few menus you have to go to get to that part. And then the last piece of it is just fill out as many applicable fields for the information you have. There's more features on here. Like once you're in there, you can start looking to see what kind of projects are out there. If you just want to look at flood projects or maybe flood and environmental, you got that ability to do that. There's different tools and layers that they have in here. You can see the different people that are already signed up or have signed up at one point or another. You got their contact information here. Maybe if you want to ask about one of their projects, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to even see other people's projects, at least the list here and a little bit of the description. Once you're in there, you see this column right here that says IRWMP. It was put in there, but we've never used this. It's an inactive column, so don't worry about if your project doesn't have a checkbox. Nobody's does. It was just a column that never got implemented. And again, you can come in here and look at anybody's project. See if we just click on one here. Just pick the random one. And it might give a little bit of description. I think that's all you get on this first tab. Get a little bit more there, and then you can see some of the information they may have put in here and how they filled it out. So you can even get ideas, maybe wording for your project from other ones, and just kind of see what kind of information has been put in these. And again, you can see who put it in there if you want to contact the individual, learn more, or coordinate. You'll have access to that as well. Okay. Let's see. Documents. You can add documents to the project. This can be probably backup documents. Sometimes for grants, they want to see your technical backup. If you've done reports, PDRs, cost estimates, things of that nature, you can throw in there. If you want to have any notes you want to add to your project, you can do that as well. Let's see. Profile, right? You know what? And I'll take any questions if anybody has questions at this point.
Any questions for Miguel? So, Miguel, as I understand it, the Woodard and Kern with the action that was just approved by the West Turlock, and we would have a similar action from the East Turlock. They would be adding another page of information related to Sigma and the GSP, and that would be another place to add information. But I don't think we have to wait until that gets done, because it may take
Correct.
A couple months to get that completely updated, and at that point in time, we would be in the grant application process. I believe the next Sigma grant should become available sometime in October, and we've been told that it might be a 6-week window for developing the grant application. So so it would be helpful to have projects identified and incorporated into the OPTI system now, that you could then just add the additional information about Sigma to that project, because you can edit projects over time as well. And
Correct.
so you could go back in and add the Sigma information at that point. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, that's correct. You can fill out the information that for all the boxes we have now, and in the future, we just click one more box for GSP, and we might have 1 or 2 tabs for GSP that you can then add whatever GSP is applicable information at that time. And in your description, you can even state that this is a GSP project as well. But I would say, hey, start your project information now, collect everything in there. It kind of helps you also walk down that step of the things they might be asking for in the grant. You know, it does prompt you for a lot of the same stuff that's always wanted by the state or by DWR, by other grant entities. So you're already prepping yourself for questions that might be in the next grant.
That sounds great. Any more questions for Miguel? And again, we'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about this at the next TAC meeting as well. But if the project proponent agencies could begin the process of getting a login and kind of working through it, then we can, you know, answer those questions as we move forward.